Been a little slow lately? Then drop into Six Flags Great Adventure, a theme park that's bigger than Disneyland and a whole lot closer. Rides like no other park, thrills like no other park, fun like no other park. Plus the all-new Batman stunt show. So take a ride to our rides at Six Flags Great Adventure, just minutes off exit 7A of the New Jersey Turnpike. Adults save $10 weekdays or $5 weekends with special coupons at participating Pathmark stores.
Hot damn, I am not going to lie. I may be a West Sider at heart, but that did make me want to ride Batman the Ride right now.
Hell yeah, man. All pumped up already.
Chris has got a tear in his eye right now.
Yeah, right?
Oh, man.
All right. Hello and welcome to episode number 7 of Some Great Adventures, the podcast where old friends who met and worked for a significant amount of time at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey, chat about our time at the park. I am Steve Hicks, and as always, my co-hosts are... That'd be you, Scott.
Andy Auletti.
Scott Loudon.
And Chris Peluso.
There we go. Good Lord. You think this is our first podcast?
For some reason, I thought Chris was first. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's always been you.
Only in our hearts, Scott.
I know.
Yeah,
exactly. Our podcast continues to be made possible by our friends at the Shared Universe Podcast Studio. Look them up for all your podcasting needs. We're also on Facebook Live, and the video will be available on our Facebook page after the podcast ends. Today is fun. It's part 2 of our East versus West challenge. Andy and I, along with our guests Debbie and Tony, explained on the last episode why we firmly believe the West is best. But today, Scott and Chris have enlisted 2 of their East Side compadres to try and convince the world that the East is one long dream street, or as Chris likes to say, the East is the beast. So, as a reminder, the East is defined as the fountain to the employee area. So basically ride sections 140 to 160. That's right. You get Fantasy Forest. Fuck you. You cannot give it away.
We are honored. We are honored to have Fantasy Forest.
Really? Put the uniform on, Chris. Put the uniform on right now if you're that honored.
I'll say we love those
In
uniforms.
part 2 of this segment.
The West
I have
Side.
many wardrobe changes.
Yeah, exactly. The West Side is from the fountain all the way over to the Great Arena. So our ride section's basically 120 and 130. The boys' first guest isn't here. It's our old friend Gary Vanderham, who I think has had second thoughts about where his loyalties lie and decided not to join us. That's what I'm thinking happened.
That commercial said it all. The drama was thick. It was strong. And our man Gary is just a big, proponent of that, and he's going to make a dramatic entrance, and we're all excited about it. Yeah.
Right now, he's battling through traffic to be here.
Exactly. Yes, fearlessly battling through traffic.
Yeah, it'd be cool if he were driving the Batmobile through traffic right now to get there.
Exactly. He saw the signal. It was just he saw it a little late, and there was a lot of traffic.
We will give Gary a break because he's not even in the United States, and he's trying to log in and join us. So we'll definitely give him a break.
The guy's on the left side of the road. I mean,
That's true. That's true.
He's all mixed up.
That's true. So new to the podcast are the boys' second co-host today, and that is a Congo Rapids legend. One of my, I have to admit this, one of my honest to God favorite people on the entire planet, Kenny Gravitsky. Say hi, Kenny.
Hello, everyone.
Yes.
So we've already heard Gary's history at the park anyway, so we weren't going to talk to him right now anyway, so it didn't really matter that he's not here yet. Basically, Kenny, we always like to kick off with the history of each of our guests. When did you start at the park? Why did you start at the park? And basically just a little bit of your history up until you left the park. So go ahead, Kenny, kick it off.
All right. So I joined the park in the end of summer 1992, right around when I was turning 17. Mikey Simone got me to join. So he worked at Congo Rapids. I followed him there. We grew up together. And I think I joined a few months after that boat flipped on Congo Rapids. And what's amazing is I looked all over the internet for it. There was nothing on it. I couldn't find anything.
Well, I mean, you can right now just look up the park from, 2 weeks ago that had a boat flip on their own version of the Congo Rapids. So,
Yeah.
I guarantee if you look that up in a month, it ain't going to be there either. So.
Yeah. Hey, Kenny, talking about these kind of things doesn't help our argument that the East Side's the best.
Yeah, you got the rolling thunder stuff. It's all right.
We won't go into ride safety. I think both sides of the park are going to take some slams. We're going to let that one go, all right?
We've got more
that
fatalities.
We've all had our issues.
Yeah.
But I was one of those rapid snobs that Steve talked about last week with the exception of, I think, 2 months on Riptide, I was on Rapids the entire time I was there. And I have a life dream that I never made it above being an assistant lead at this point.
Best assistant lead
It
ever.
is one of the things I am most proud of.
Well, I have to interject here as one of your supervisors. Yeah, that dream was easy to meet. So, yeah.
But the thing is,
he held the title, though. He could have been, demoted or something. He did hold the title. He held that title.
Well, they wouldn't demote me because I was still the one that ran the ride.
He was actually the only assistant lead that was both the day and night shift assistant lead. Kenny, I was like, Kenny, you're the assistant lead now. He's like, wait, I'm night shift. I was like, I don't care.
That's because no one liked Scott when he got there.
Yep. And they didn't like me when I left either, but that's
fair
another
enough.
story.
But we did call you Golden Boy, so it was okay.
Yeah.
But I do have a dilemma with all this. So actually, first, I went till about 1999 when I finished grad school. Off and on, I would skip a summer. One summer I taught, and so I'd literally just be there on Saturdays and Sundays. But I was there for 7 years or so.
Wait. You left in 99? That was your last season?
Yeah, after a couple of years off, I think.
Andy, you left in 98. Scott, you left in 97, the same year I left. Chris, you only made it to 98 too, right? Or did you make it to 99?
2000. I think I might have been 2000.
Oh, you're last man standing. I thought Kenny might have made that.
Yeah, I think I was 2000. Yeah.
Wow.
I took a couple of years off, and then I 3 weeks before I started my first real job. So I went back to the park for a couple of weeks for fun.
Got
Well,
it.
Nice.
you didn't just go back for fun. You were on a mission, I believe, weren't you?
Yeah, what was your mission?
What
What was your mission?
I think I tried to get fired, and apparently I did. I don't even remember, but
I love how you don't remember.
And tell us about what this firing was for.
I think I had a paddle boat in the reservoir and was paddling across the reservoir, which was all well and good. But apparently, I think Kathy DiGregorio and Christy Bartlett got in trouble because they were watching me do it.
Wait, when you said you had a paddle boat, are we talking like old school paddle boats like we had in 120 when we had a paddle boat ride, or what kind of paddle boat are we talking about here?
I think like an inflatable raft type thing.
Oh,
Like-
okay.
Like an Asian tower.
Right.
inflatable
If you had
raft.
hauled
those
a
were
paddle
long
boat
gone,
from the
Steve.
graveyard over there, I was about to just bow to you right now. Like,
Exactly. I was
holy
just like,
shit.
not only
What?
should you be in a strongman competition, but damn.
Yeah, right?
That's
Now,
ballsy
I have
right
to admit,
there, yeah.
I do not remember this in the least. But Christy wouldn't lie to me, so
Were you drinking
No.
that day or something?
you never know.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a lasting memory for a lot of people, man. So I think it happened.
Great.
But I have a dilemma with all this conversation because in the end, once Gary joined, 4 of the 5 of you would have been my supervisors. So either I have to talk about you guys being good supervisors, which is a challenge, saying these,
Or you have to tell the truth. It's okay.
or you guys are basically saying that you are awful supervisors because otherwise, why wouldn't East have been the best?
So, well, no, because Steve and Chris were on the west side for more of the time, I think, as their supervisors. But I mean, we could probably spend the whole podcast on all the stuff that Kenny did wrong in that place.
Hey, we should make a whole show out of it. It'd
Yeah.
be great. Yeah.
But,
I actually think I was 99, real quick, 99. Then I left, went to work at a warehouse for a short stint, and then before going to the prison to work, I came back for like about 6-7 weeks, something like that. Yeah. So a very
counts.
short stint. Yeah, I
That
forgot
counts.
about that.
If that counts. Oh, I have to interject in the comments. Pete Ladowdy is trying to say that Fantasy Forest isn't East or West, blah, blah, blah. It's Switzerland. Fuck you, Pete. Fantasy Forest is on their side, and they're
Yeah.
owning that shit,
That is
okay?
We're
definitely-
owning it. Yeah.
We threw that
Pete started
line
with
before
me.
we had these podcasts. It's theirs.
Hey,
Pete, don't get me wrong. We appreciate it, but we're gonna own it. We love 140.
if we didn't bring in
And
140,
Pete
we
started
couldn't.
with me when I actually started at Great Adventure.
Oh, sorry for you. But
We
if
would
if we didn't bring in 140, we couldn't say that we had the flying wave, and that's like a big part of our argument as to why our side was better. That's the
Nice.
swings for anybody who doesn't know what the flying wave was.
All right, hold on. We're going to interject before Kenny continues. Go right there. How in the fuck are you going to argue that the East is best because you had the flying fucking wave? And
I
don't get me
actually
wrong.
had them
Don't get me
too.
wrong. I know Laura Servidia right now is putting a gun to the camera and shooting me right now because she loves that ride. But
Yeah,
I want to hear this argument. Let's go. Where
Well,
are
we're
we
gonna get
going
to
with
we're
this?
gonna get to
Steve,
140. We will
Steve,
get to 140.
Steve, they're
like,
acing the hole
we have a
in the
whole
flying
topic
wave.
devoted to
I know.
it.
Who would have known, Andy? Who would have known?
Yeah. We talked and we were like, we're gonna have one topic just nice and clean. What do we love about 140 and why is it great? And so we'll get there. Don't worry. It's all on the table. We're owning it. We're owning it.
No. I'm there. I got to know why.
Well, I know our man. I know our man Gary is definitely going to have some thoughts. But like I said,
boy.
when I was a kid, I loved the big wheel. If you asked me what Great Adventure was when I was a kid, immediately I go to the big wheel. I just
I
the
agree. You walk
lights
in, you
and
see the fountain, and you see the fucking big wheel. I'm right there with you.
It's like the
140 is
focal
still where
point
I
of the
would
whole
take my
park.
kids if we were going.
Yeah, right.
Well, and here's the other thing. So this is the funny part. As much as we all want to jokingly shit on 140, because as an employee, 140 kind of did suck to work. The reality of it is, as a guest, 140 is where you could get all your fucking kids on 5 goddamn rides in and out because everything else is an hour line. So 140 was simply made to be flat ride heaven for throughput. So as a parent, 140 was fucking fantastic. But I still don't understand where you're going with this goddamn flying wave. You gotta explain this to me.
I mean, Scott, you go ahead first. I have my thoughts on
Well-
it. I actually did have that down. If you want to go first, by all means.
Well, Steve just stole my
You can
thunder.
ride the flying wave anywhere.
You just stole my thunder, Steve. That was my whole argument about why 140 was like the step up from BBL, and
You
And then-
graduate, essentially.
and the Buccaneer is there, which was my first ride, which is still standing. It's like the only one that's still there out of all these flat
Not
rides.
It's not
I was
true.
going to say that about Big Wheel. I was like, it's
Big Wheel's still there. Wait,
stands the test of
Roundup is
time.
still there, but it's moved. Roundup is still there. It's moved. But Flying Wave right now is like fucking super Flying Wave. It's amazing. Have you been on it?
No.
Holy shit. After this podcast, I will post a picture of the Flying fucking Wave and you on the podcast page, and you would just boggle your mind. The Flying Wave, they kept it as the seats, but now you're not in single rider seats, you're on 2 rider seats, but they're still held by those same little goddamn chains that look like they're going to snap. But now they redid the tower, and it's on a tower that goes up higher than a big wheel. You're actually looking down at the top of the big wheel, and it still spins exactly the same as it did, but it's like the super Flying Wave. And I'm not going to lie, when we got to the top, it was me and my nephew, and all of a sudden I was like, for the first time ever, I'm fucking afraid on a Flying Wave because I'm looking at the chain and I'm like, it looks like a chain that's just going to snap, and it's holding 2 of us up now, not 1. And I'm like, and we're spinning, and I'm looking at the top of the big wheel, and I'm like, this ain't fun anymore. They did turn it into a super flying. I have to say, I wish they took all the old flat rides that were like that and did something like this, because when I first saw it, I was like, Flying Wave's still here. And then I kind of looked and I was like, wait, what the fuck? And then when we went on it, I was like, this is literally like a super version of what we used to just consider like a throughput ride. But now it's actually a really fun ride. Like, I was like, holy shit, they really did revamp this properly.
Sounds like a pretty
cool.
Badass swing. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Like Condor.
It's pretty cool.
Condor was the scrambler, but
Bingo.
20 feet in the air.
Exactly. Although I will throw in, I think the reason they did that is because in our time, the Flying Wave sucked. So the East Side's not as bad. So anyway, all right.
I love the graduate, like Scott's point and your point about, you do graduate to that from BBL, and it's exciting as a kid. But I actually had a very tranquil day of working it. I really enjoyed it. Yes, I was not wearing the outfit. All right, I'll admit, I was not wearing the outfit. It was during the time of the fall when staffing is very low, and it was the first time we were experimenting, I don't know if you remember this, with single operator, no attendant, no anything on certain flat rides. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll try it. You know what I mean? And it was a nice 65-degree day. Everybody was happy in the park because it was light, and I was just working those swings all by myself. It was fantastic. I still remember it today. It was a really good time. Very enjoyable experience for a good 4 hours.
Full of shit. Working those swings as an employee sucked. Absolutely.
I loved it. I thought it was
bullshit.
Great.
Andy, are we calling bullshit on this
for
one?
4 hours.
What I will give you, Chris. And by the way, no shade. No shade. It's just like when you had to work the fucking Enterprise.
Like I said,
no shade,
it was a cool autumn day. In the beating sun, you may have a point. However, I can apply that to the chutes as well. The parachutes were just as fun in the sun. Also as the one of the few swing leads in the park of the Typhoon. That's where I got my start. So how can I not have a lot of love? That's where I started. Fantastic ride. I mean, what can you say about a ride that has its own hose dedicated just to natural causes? I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, that's just fantastic. I don't know if it makes us better. Definitely a beast. Definitely a beast.
I will not deny you that one, because there is something so cool about a ride that had to have a timer put in it, because every fucking person that made operator was like, let me watch these motherfuckers for 8 minutes until they throw up, until I let go this Batman switch, you are going,
That was the best.
And that's what I was going to say. It was one of the few rides that was manual, where you actually had control of it. You dropped the floor. You raised the floor. That was pretty badass. There weren't too many rides where you did anything but push a button and it does its thing.
Somebody had the intelligence to look at how often it was down for pubes.
In the West too.
That's true. Actually, that is true. It is. Andy pointed out something very important here. You are right. It was one of the best rides, but it was also one of our rides. It was on 120 as well.
Of course. I mean, we aired it out, and we gave it a catchy name, and
I don't know, Andy. Did we have it first? Did 120 have it first? I
No.
actually don't remember. Or did we have it? Did we get it and then it went
they
back?
had it for a while, and then we got it.
Yeah.
I don't even know
Okay.
if it still exists or where it is now.
I did think we got it from the West.
I think it's gone. I did not see it in the park when I visited. I didn't see it anywhere, which kind of disappointed me because I was like, even though I'm a germaphobe and I really don't want to put my back up against that goddamn wall, I would have done it. I would have done it.
Just put a plastic bag around yourself or something.
Exactly.
That was the best part of that ride was you could be like, oh, I want to take a break. And then you just let it go until somebody pukes and close the ride.
Exactly.
Nice. Ken, I mean, there are so many things to love about 140, but, if you just want to name one, that you liked about 140, I mean, I for one also, I mean, there's just so many things. There's so many things. I don't want to fill up the whole hour and a half on 140, but, if you have anything on 140, please.
Kenny's favorite thing was probably like that he didn't work it.
Andy, we're 22 minutes in, and Chris is already reaching for anything right now. We're 22 minutes in, and he's reaching.
No, all about inclusion. I just want to make sure we get everyone's opinion.
140 the entire time I was there. I think I almost made it to cables once and got sent right back.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's the thing too. Like I did love cables, especially as a kid. There was something about it where.
Shit!
Whoa!
Wait! There's cheating here. I see an extra person from the east side being brought in.
We call it
cheating.
We call it surprise guest gold. We would like to welcome Gary Vanderham and Gloria Vanderham, our secret surprise guests from the East Side.
If I had a better voice, I would burst into the U2's Gloria song right now,
Nice. Welcome, guys. We were just talking about how awesome 140 is, and I know you have a ton to talk about with 140, but I was thinking, quick intro for Gare.
Where was that again? I don't even remember that area.
Gare, we're saying we love it.
Yeah, we're live, Gary. We're live here.
We're live, Gary, and we love 140.
And Gary and Gloria are frozen.
Yeah, I'm just
Gary and Gloria are coming at us from Switzerland here. I mean, we got to give them a break.
So, and in fairness, though, we can't spend the entire show on 140. We've got to move on to the others.
Of course.
I think if we do, me and Andy automatically win. So we kind of like it, We kind of like it.
Exactly. And when we get Gary and Gloria back, we want to definitely hear some of Gloria's history. And yeah. So we'll I think maybe we move on because they're seeming like they're a little frozen over there. It is cold and I think we got them back.
We got them back. Oh, we lost him again. Well, wait a minute, Kenny. I completely interrupted. Did we finish your history? Basically, are you literally? I feel like your history was: I worked at Rapids, and then I tried to get fired from Rapids. Let's talk.
Dude, he's a career assistant.
I think that's awesome. Good, concise history.
Yes, successfully tried to get fired from Rapids, and
minus the fact that I helped Scott out for his few years of lead, but yeah.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Kenny, I mean, I would have been run out of there on a rail. He was the only person who talked to me from that cliquey Rapids crew initially. So, yep. And then Kenny went downhill after that.
Oh yeah, I did your reverse, Scott.
Literally, he went down the hill of the reservoir into the reservoir with the raft. He went all the way down.
Kenny had a strong love for the reservoir. He swam across it. He, paddled across it. He tied all the boats across it one time and totally screwed the day shift when they came in because they weren't smart enough to untie them before they started the ride, which was also because I forget which full timer it was that came up to me who the hell did that? I want to know. I was like, I'll ask Kenny because he'll tell me the truth. And then I asked Kenny, he's like, I did it. I'm like, Kenny, that's not what I was expecting to hear.
I told you the truth.
Nice.
All right. Well, I don't know. It looks like they're having some Swiss technical difficulties. So we're gonna give them a beat, I think, and we're gonna move on to our first topic.
Yeah,
and I don't know our topics. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
I'm thinking they probably joined late, and they were like, "Oh wait, they're still on 140. Let's disconnect for a little."
Yeah, they were like, "Ah, shit! I thought we already talked about this. 140 is not part of us. I will not vouch for them." I was clear. Yeah. No, I don't know if our topics. We have many topics. We'll go round robin and talk about them. And I don't know if they make us better than the West, but they definitely make us a beast, and they should be a lot of fun. One of them, I don't know.
Before we move on, Chris, there's one thing that I thought was cheesy, and then Kenny had the same idea. So if you see the map here, this is oriented for north, and in fact, the west side is on the true east side, and 140, 160, and 150 were all on the west side of the park.
Interesting. So you mean when they came up with this West is best thing, they didn't even know where the hell they were standing?
Well, they could have been talking about us the whole time.
West is best because it's the Western themed section. Are you guys that dumb? Did you even? I mean, literally, could you not figure this out?
Western.
It's called Western.
Did you not work with
Western
me?
best makes sense. I won't comment on that.
Let me fill Gary and Gloria in on what they missed. These idiots are trying to say that we don't even know what side of the park we're on, even though it's literally themed as the western side of the park. You guys need to bail them out. Oh, wait, they heard what I said. They're out of here again.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not saying that is like that we were the west side. I'm just saying your argument could have applied either way, depending on how you're thinking of it. That's all. Just putting it out there.
Okay, moving on.
I definitely hear what you're saying, Scott, and but I mean, Steve's hat does make a strong argument, and does make a strong argument. And my favorite is though, I didn't even know there was a fucking competition. I had no idea that the West was the best or that was even a thing. I just had my home at Batman. I didn't even go or leave Batman for the most part, 90% of the time. And this is all kind of a shock to me. So, but
I can explain that. You've said that before. So all right. So here's a funny thing. I think it all originates from the cables. So cables always had a West versus Dream Stride war, and there was I don't even think we talked about it when we were doing the West Side podcast. There was very famous pan and broom and cooler wars, and generally it was always between Western 120 and 140. 130 was almost never involved. 150 was never involved, and 160 was so fucking far out there we didn't want to be bothered with them because it was just too much to go steal their shit. But Western side and Eastern side used to steal each other's Panzer brooms and coolers consistently to the point where we had to fucking hide them in cubby holes at all times because you would come in and a day shift would be like, and it was, this is the most fucked up thing too. It was the night shift that was doing these wars, but the day shift were the ones that needed the fucking cooler because of the sun. So if you're in 140, every ride's a flat ride that you're baking on. And the first thing you do when you go to that ride, before you even test run it, is you fill the fucking cooler with ice and water because otherwise you're going to pass out. There's no coolers. All the coolers are gone because of our war.
So 140 used to punk you guys?
No, it was really the other way.
It was back and forth consistently, 140 and 120. Like one night, 140 would have no Panzer brooms in a cooler. The next day, 120 would have none. And it was going on back and forth. And that's the basis of really where the West versus East Side war came from, in my opinion, at least.
I agree, because I started in 140, and my first season was like the season where that was really going on. And I mean, I don't really feel like it was a back and forth so much. It's like I feel like in 140 we never had cans and brooms or coolers because you guys always just stole all of our shit. But
you also
I do remember that from my Typhoon days.
Here's where you guys got fucked. I can give you a reason for why that happened, because we were all basically major rides and you were all flat rides, so there was only very limited places you could actually hide them that we couldn't find them. Whereas for us, if you go to Log Flume, the actual queue line, okay, there is a ladder where the boat storage is. You climb that ladder, there's a fucking cubby hole in there where you could put Panzer brooms. You guys never knew that. You can never find them. You go into Western Cables, we would put them into, you would think we would always store them right into that closet, which we usually did, but there's other places you could store them as well. Mine Train, every one of our rides had storage spots where we could hide Panzer brooms to fill a section and you would never find them. Whereas you guys, where the fuck are you going to hide them? Oh, I'm sorry, the little closet behind the Dream Street, we knew about it. You know, it's like there's nowhere to hide them. So you guys got screwed all the time.
In the center of the swings, they had the door in there where the mechanics.
We knew that one too, though. We also knew about the shed behind the swings too. We knew about that too.
I mean, this show is about being better, but not to say we're smarter or better, but started putting like little label on them, you know? So either you were going to not steal Batman's pans and brooms, or you were going to be a billboard for Batman the Ride.
Ding,
because you'd
ding,
be sweeping
ding.
with a big old Batman's.
And now you know why during work crew one year, we had to spray paint every fucking pan of room, 120, 130, 140, 150, all full circle. That's where that came from, because that put an end to it. That's why all the coolers had to be labeled on the top and on the sides. That's why. That was the only way to put an end to them. Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, after we get to Gloria's, after we get done with Gloria's history, though, I want, we can talk a little bit about the change in, the change in methodology, ideology that came, during our era, and pretty much all happened on the east side, but one particular ride as the focal point. But Gloria, I'm so happy to have you back here.
Adventure Rivers.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to talk all about Asian towers.
I think the Frozen again. So
happy to have Gloria back. Gloria, would love to hear a little bit about why you decided to do this to yourself and come to the park, and a little bit about your history and why you eventually left.
So we're hoping that we're not glitching. Can you hear us clear?
You're good.
You got a nice shimmy, but you sound great.
Okay.
That's because I'm hopping.
Nothing like it. We are hyped. So we're in Austria right now, so not in Switzerland. So there was a little bit of a delay. We apologize. But I joined the park in '95. I think a certain male on this panel group interviewed me when I came in, and may or may not have directed me toward the rapids.
Interesting.
I worked there from '95, '96, and then because I was dating another man who's on this call, I was moved to 40 to, let's clarify.
Let's say, Gloria, you're not supposed to tell them about this.
So I was moved to Runaway Train, then 150, worked on the chiller, and then moved to as a supervisor to Sky Coaster.
Wait, hold on. Where were you first moved?
The Runaway Train.
Oh, the west side. Oh, yes, I see where you were moved. Oh.
And where did you leave abruptly?
We're trying to figure out the smaller camera. Yeah, so I was moved to the Runaway Train. That was when I had the moment with the guest, which Gary shared on a previous episode, of coming up to the train and him having his bag that was in the way. So I look at the man and he has no legs.
Go ahead, tell that story, because I don't think Andy and Kenny heard that one.
Yeah, so I walk up, and guest first, I'm ready to go, and I see he has no legs. I'm like, I've got this. Like, do not comment, because you had to ask them to spread their legs more to get the bar down. And I said, you're going to need to spread your thighs. It was very, very clear on what was there. And then all his friends start laughing, and he's like 25. They're all a bunch of young guys. And the guy, he said to me, he's like, my bag's in the way. And I was like, oh, sir, we have a place where we can hold your bags. And everyone busts out laughing. They were like, yeah, it's a shit bag. Like, no, it's not. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, that sounds good. That's great. Okay. And I walked away. So yeah, so it was Runaway Train, and then went over to 150, and then worked on the chiller.
You opened up the chiller, right?
Opened up the chiller.
When it opened up?
I think it saddled a week later. 97, yeah.
That's about right.
That happened. And then went to the Sky Coaster, where that also
And you opened that up too?
I opened that up too, and that also broke down.
So what I'm hearing is Gloria spent half of her time on the west side. And was the Sky Coaster the end of your career, Gloria?
It was. That was the.
So she finished on the west side.
No, that's perfectly fine.
I was going to say it may have even contributed to her leaving.
Yeah.
She was trained on a lot of people's leaving.
But what I did hear in that conversation is there's a chance that someone wearing a Western hat right now may have convinced you to come over to the east side.
Or initially, when you first came into the park, right?
Initially.
So I'd like to add a little there. I mean, there was that one season before the park opened that we got to work hiring staff, right? Like I was working in HR, Steve was working in HR. I don't know, Chris or Gary or Andy, if you guys worked in HR hiring.
Yeah, no, definitely.
it was like my first year as a supervisor, and like 160, I'm like looking around. I go up to Steve. I was like, Steve, I was like, we scored, man. We're like the luckiest supervisors in the world because we got all these hot chicks in our section. And he's like, I know, dumbass. He's like, why do you think that is? He's like, because I told them all to go to 160.
I know, dumbass.
I was like, you're my hero. I was like, bound. That was like one of the few times that I was like, literally, like, I gave him huge credit for being smarter than me.
He wasn't paraphrasing there. That's probably exactly what you
If anything, he was probably being nice.
It went on for like another few minutes.
I thought he was a genius. I mean, it didn't even occur to me to do that while I was working there. I was like, oh, you want to go, here or there? I was like, sure, yeah, go for it. I should have been like, no, you really want to work the Rapids. That's where you want to go. I mean, I would, in fairness, I would even have like given up Kenny's spot on the Rapids to get somebody. Sorry, Kenny, I love you, but
Nice.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Kenny, Gloria.
We had a lot of fun on Rapids that year, especially '95. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, good times.
I came in because Jad DeCurso, Steve, you remember, Jad had said, you should come work at Great Adventure. My friend Carolyn and Nicole, we have so much fun. You can, basically do what you want. And so that was where I came in to interview. And then Gary and I were talking about it, and I said, I think I definitely interviewed with you, but I didn't remember at the time I had asked to be at Rapids. And then the next day I was at Rapids. So
nice.
I will say, when certain rides were fun to like dump coolers on people, and Rapids was absolutely one of the funnest because at night when people had to clean underneath, it was just so open. Like you didn't even have to work at it. You could literally leave it on the railing and be like, "Ha bye." Like that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, and just speaking about the coolers and the rivalry and all that and all the shenanigans, if you will, I think we jump around on topics here and we jump to the prestige and the professionalism that came with the East Side. And, I mean, during most of our East Side era was Time Warner, when Time Warner, bought and ran the park. And there was one particular ride that marks the biggest turning point, being Batman the Ride. B&M coaster, $8 million. The amount of money that went into that ride, the amount of care that went into picking the crew and everything. Everything pointed east. As far if staff was needed to open rides, where did the staff go? The staff went to the east. You might have gotten a few people to open BBL. But other than that, it was coming east if we needed to. But those rides came first. That's where the focal point was. Batman was just kind of a phenomena. It was just absolutely epic. B&M coaster, German made. I
think we passed it on the way here.
we did.
Nice. I mean, it also too. I mean, that all sounds even still good today. But at the time, I think it was only the second of its kind. The dangling feet inverted roller coaster. It was only the second one in the States. So that was a really big deal. And that commercial that opened up the show, that drama was real. Was real. People, the guests showed up to that friggin' ride, and they were like
an hour early.
Yeah. Oh my God! I don't know if you remember the song "Hoop There It Is." But damn, every friggin' train that came in singing that song. It was one of the few rides where after you waited 2.5 hours, you still were like, they didn't give a shit. They were loving it from start to finish. Just absolutely epic.
And it was the best for the test rides in the morning because I remember having competitions test riding with another soup. Like whenever Steve was covering 150, I'd come over and we'd test ride, and we'd always try to kick each other's shoes off. Because then you'd have to do the walk of shame and go down under the tracks to get your shoe back without a shoe on. So
I love that track too, man. That track was the shit. Monster track area. That brings back such memories, man. Going in there to look for eyeballs and legs and all that stuff. Fantastic, man. It was fantastic. Diamond rings, you name it. It was all in that track area. Fantastic. No. Absolutely. My love is clear, but I mean, it went further. It was the entire theme park went from, moving away from the carnival boardwalk mentality to a professional theme park, calling themselves number 2 to Disney. I don't know if you remember this too, changed the name. We were no longer Great Adventure. It was like, remember we had the meetings about it. We had to have a mission statement. We were now Six Flags. And if anything else, Six Flags Great Adventure. You did not say Great Adventure anymore, and you didn't steal coolers as much anymore. You didn't do any of that stuff as anymore. So that's why I said, I don't know if we were as fun, but damn, were we buttoned up. And I mean,
and by saying number 2, not to be confused with what the staff did on the west side of Cables in the closet. We're not talking about that kind of number 2. We're talking about
you're also a B&M bowel movement coaster, so you can just shut that one right up there, Scott. Okay,
It's all right. It's all good. I'll take it.
Nice. No. I mean, it was just
generational. I think this is a generational conversation. All
Pooping?
the people that are saying West is best started in the 80s.
That is true. That is true. And that's what I was exactly as I was saying. Like, we started pretty much the bulk of our work was during that era of Warner Brothers. It was just a different place. I don't know if it was better. It may not have been as fun or relaxing, but it was definitely different and definitely a friggin' beast.
It was definitely the focus of the park in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. No,
look at you, Kenny. I knew there was a reason we invited you.
Exactly.
Nice take on things.
Liquid nitrogen training for the hand-picked crew. I think I was 16 years old. It was the first time I was ever in a conference room. It was just like, what? Wait, where are we going? I was like, we're going to a conference room. We had a 2-hour liquid nitrogen training. Because they had the liquid nitrogen in the.
Hey, Chris, I'm going to interrupt for a second. Can you guys read the comment that Debbie King just posted? I'm just curious. What does that say? Oh, no, read it out loud, Chris. Not to yourself. Read that out loud. What's that say?
Oh, okay. It's sad all of those sound effects no longer work. Last time I was there about 6 or 7 years ago, I didn't even hear Alfred doing the spiel.
Okay. Never mind. You can move on. We'll go back to that one. We'll go back to
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, and of course, like what we're all talking about here is when we were there, but I do appreciate that, where it's at now.
Hey.
I mean, they painted it yellow. Wouldn't be what I would have done. I wouldn't have gone that direction. I kind of like it the way it was, but hey, times change. What are you going to do? I
Chris,
feel like there's a few rides in the West that have closed. So,
So did you guys ever mess with the liquid nitrogen, and pour it on stuff and freeze things or whatever?
I didn't get to do any liquid nitrogen work per se, but we needed to make sure if we were aware of a leak, essentially, is why I guess they were giving us the safety training for the liquid nitrogen. Okay. But they really gave you that, that first class treatment. I remember looking over and going, we allowed to drink that water? I mean, there was a nice little water setup in the conference room. It was great. Really, really enjoyed the experience. But what are you guys? Anything during the Time Warner era that you saw?
Yeah, hold on.
I got
a point counterpoint here. But Andy, let's throw a little point counterpoint here. I do agree with you that was the first time that they converted 150 into the actual movie town section and tried to fully theme it into a movie section. So they even went so far as to put Free Fall was Free Fall. There really wasn't much they could do that. Stuntman's Free Fall. Yeah. Then they tried to do movie town water effects, and that, but they still tried to theme. And right. The reason the Batman was so phenomenal wasn't only because of that, was also because they were building its own big ass stunt show next to it, which was pretty fucking amazing. That was a 1-2 punch, and that was amazing for the East Side.
I'd say the stunt show was even a bigger centerpiece.
I agree. And let's be honest, man, I love that promo commercial we played, because that was pre-opening of Batman, so the strobes were there, the fog is there real quick, all the things in the queue line that made Batman fucking amazing that first year. I mean, that ride was bar none. But I will say, Chris, your whole idea of but it drove everyone to the East Side and all the staffing, buddy, every fucking new ride in the park, they do that, okay? So on our side, when Shockwave was the first one to open, and when, every new ride gets staffed. Every new ride's the new flavor of the year. So let's cut that bullshit out, okay? And year number 2, Year number 2, let's go back to Debbie King's comments. Year number 1, Shows was part of the ride because the queue line was partially ran by Shows. Shows would come down and operate certain effects. Is that correct, sir?
Actually, I have no idea. I was a black tag on Batman.
Oh, my God. You're not even an expert and you're quoting. Okay.
I was a black tag on Batman.
All right.
I was picked from
Just
the
say
typhoon.
yes. Just say yes. Just say
Picked from the
yes because the
typhoon.
answer is yes. Okay. So
I did become assistant to the assistant lead.
Oh, good God.
That's my position.
Year number 1, it was amazing. Everything they put in that queue line, especially the interior of the queue line, was fucking Disney. It was Disney. It was the closest they probably ever truly got to really Disney-fying a ride from beginning to end, especially the queue line. And that's always been a tragedy of Six Flags versus Disney, is that in Disney, they keep the kids entertained in the queue line. And in Six Flags, the only thing they ever did to try to do that was throw the goddamn monitors up, and half of them don't even work. So it was like
Warner Brothers shows.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, exactly. But starting year fucking 2, they started budget cuts and they started removing portions of all the stuff that made Batman so fucking special. And just to finish this whole East versus West tirade, you just made a comment about some of the West rides coming down. I recently visited a park, and the only 2 rides still technically alive in the East that matter are Congo Rapids and Batman, while in the West, we still have our cables. We still have our runaway train. We still have our log flume.
Well, the cables really wouldn't be much without having an east side.
Those are the 4 free rides of the whole park.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the cables have it on the east side too.
I mean, they would just be going around in this, just one side. They wouldn't even leave the station.
I'm just pointing out that almost every ride in the east side is gone.
I think you
actually,
I haven't been to the park in a long time.
Wait, I'm going to go one better for you, Chris. You were a 150 suit primarily, right?
Primarily, yeah.
Take away Batman to ride. What's left?
Oh, you got Stuntman's Free Fall. We were the 9.
Gone.
We were the 9-word. Well, again,
no. I'm not talking about during your
time.
During
our era.
Yeah, but I'm talking about you were making a comment that Western lost rides, so you were
no.
That
was just a counterpoint. That was a counterpoint to the changes that affected Batman, because of course Batman is no longer new. It's now 30 years old, 25 years old. Of course.
I will give you this though. I will give you this one thing though. My nephew fucking loved Batman.
Yeah, no, it's so
when we went on there, we just went on it last week, and it's so funny because the first thing he says though is, "Hey, I watched a video. Why isn't the fountain working in the queue line?" Which cracked me up. I was like, "Oh my God," because he knows what we do on his podcast, so he was looking for the details. But when we got on the ride, he even was like, "Ah!" the whole way. And when we got off, he was like, "That's a really good ride." And because I always told him, I said, "This is one of my favorite rides in the park," and it always will be. So
yeah, I mean, intense, fun, but also so smooth. You know what I mean?
It still is.
It was,
dude. It's still a fan. It's one of those rides I hope they never get rid of because it just deserves to stay. It's still it's just a stand-up ride, man. It's so goddamn good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good times.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I mean, a lot of the fun stuff too, and we touched on some of this already, but like, I don't know, we all kind of wore breakdowns as like a badge of honor and evacuations as a badge of honor. Like, I don't know why. I don't think it definitely makes any of us better on West or East Side, but we friggin' love them. You know what I mean? And I know I talk a lot about Batman a lot, but when you talk breakdowns, you have to talk free fall. And that was the epicenter of breakdowns and evacuations. I think 13 was my high of going up and down, in one shift and evacuating. It was just, it was definitely a special thing. One of my favorite memories is when it was really having a good day. And by a good day, I mean a lot of breakdowns. The electricians would all set up, like, I swear for some reason I remember hibachi, but that just might be like, some sort of embellishment in my brain. But they definitely had cigars. And at the time it was like, "Hey, kid, come on over and sit down." I felt like I was outside Satriale's, in The Sopranos. You know what I mean? I needed the thing to stun myself, like Paulie.
Get your own no-show job.
Exactly. They would just camp out there, man. It was fantastic. One of my favorite memories was free fall in the breakdowns for sure. And I know you guys have a lot as well.
So I love rapids during the breakdowns because literally every breakdown was different.
I agree.
First of all, there's still this moment if you hear a certain sound that just triggers flush, and I still perk up when an air conditioning goes off.
Yeah, it was like the slowly winding down and getting quiet of all the
quiet.
Motors and the
it was
pumps
the absence of sound. That was it.
You normally had that common hum throughout the ride, and when you didn't hear the hum, it was like, oh crap, something happened. Run, we gotta go.
And there was
you would jump on boats. You would play with ropes.
Yeah, there was no breakdown like rapids. Like we did things there that it would never be considered safe on any other ride. They'd be like, "Wait, you crazy? You want me to jump on a moving boat going through?"
Yeah, it was so manual.
Yeah,
it really was.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure a few people here on this call will agree with me. But as far as rides in the park go, rapids to me was the most fun, the best ride to work, because to me it seems like definitely there's like a correlation between the amount of crew on a ride and how much fun it was to work the ride. And Rapids, I think, had the biggest crew of any ride. And aside from that, just all the antics that went on that ride. You mentioned like what went on with the water coolers, but like what went on the inner island, because we had a moat around the ride. So like supervisors couldn't see what was going on without physically coming through the station. So, I mean, some of the stuff I hear about, Kenny could probably raise more than me, but the things that went on that inner island were pretty insane. You care to elaborate, Kenny? Do you have any stories about that?
I think Gloria actually has the story of someone going to the bathroom, or wasn't it someone taking a dump on the inner island?
No, I would definitely. So what happened to the inner island stays in the inner island, and to all of you, you're welcome. But I will say that the shed was air conditioned, so that was the place where, when it was really hot, that you would take a break. And frequently we couldn't find people at times because they were all in the shed enjoying a little bit of air conditioning. But no, I think people weren't necessarily going to the bathroom in the shed. I think it was more behind the waterfall. So as you'd walk out to Station 2, you would normally see at least one or two men as you were walking, but for anyone that took a pit stop on the way.
So
sometimes together, sometimes not.
So what you're saying, Gloria, is it was Gary who did the number 2 on the inner island then.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a story out there right now. So I'm day shift supervisor, and Kim B. Wall. Okay, I'm not gonna say the last name. Okay, but is on Center Island, eating lunch on a short-staffed day, sitting on the gang box, and I cross over, see her, and look to the right, and there's a mom with her little kid squatting down, and it's a girl just pissing on the ground. And I look at Kim, and it's one of those days where there's no staffing and everyone's eating on the gang box because there's no way to go out to employee dining or anything. And I look at her, and she just looks at me and shakes her head like, "Don't fucking say a word. Don't say a word." And apparently this lady's like, the line, it was one of those days where the line was all the way out. I mean, we're talking like an hour and a half line, and they got all the way up, and the lady was just like, "I'm letting her pee." And she just went, "Go." And I was just, as a student, you walk up and here's someone eating a sandwich while a little kid's pissing next to him, and you're like, "What the fuck am I seeing?" And I literally just went, "Okay." I turned, signed off, and left. I was like, "I'm not even gonna preach it,"
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I mean, but yeah, people definitely have peed and pooped on that inner island without a doubt. There's no doubt. Yeah,
they've done a lot more than that on the inner
island. I'm sure, and they've done a lot more than that in that air-conditioned shed too. I think Gloria was being a little polite about what was going on in that shed, but we'll move on.
Nice. I can't. I still remember my first Rapids breakdown when I got there, first flush. And it was just, even though you knew about it, you saw it on paper, but until you actually see people throwing ropes and climbing down the boats and all that, it was just really something to to see, and nothing else like it, really.
Did we ever go over what a flush was at Rapids? Did we ever describe that for?
We talked about it during the breakdowns. Okay. Yeah, we have. I will say one thing that we didn't talk about though, and Chris, you kind of nailed it on the head. One of my favorite things though is that when Rapids would flush, because it was right next to the employee section, every full-timer would come out to try to help. But most of them did not know what the fuck to do. So one of my favorite things about those flushes where they would come out there and all start trying to give their input, and we as experienced soups would go, stop, shush, you can help over there. And that's it. Like, shut them the fuck down. Shut them down. Right, Gary? Gary, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean,
but as employees, they would start telling us what they were like, no.
Yeah.
We have to get the boats. You go deal with the guests. We're fine. Don't step in.
Don't step in. Get the fuck out. And my favorite is like some that absolutely knew what they were doing though. Like Karen, for a perfect example. Karen knew what she was fucking doing, but she wouldn't take over. She'd walk in and just be like, you got it. And then she just help us however we need it. Like some knew it. And some were just like, oh, there's people, blah, blah, blah. It's like, shut the hell up. Go over there. And I used to love it because it's the one time you could shut a full-timer the fuck up. Like, you just stop. You're going to get someone hurt. You shut up. Go over there. You know? Like,
Karen was one of my first soups at Rapids.
She knew her shit. Yeah. Right,
Nice.
Scott? She was your favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we had a special relationship. It was a give and take, whereas she would give me a lot of shit, and I would just take it.
I can say there was only one breakdown at Rapids that I was ever afraid at, though. I said I started a couple weeks after the boat flip. We had a jam at the channel right at point, and two boats literally started going like this because of the water flow. And I remember me and I think someone else were literally doing splits, pushing the boats apart until the water went by.
I think that would have been Greg Clark, right? Because
probably
he ran down the belts, like the belts that went from the station all the way down to the water. He didn't even bother to use the stairs. He just took off straight down the belts when he saw that, because the channel was only big enough for one boat, and two boats going through at one time was a big problem. So
well, and they wouldn't even get in. They were just going to
yes, that would not have been good if it would have been allowed to continue for much longer. So that was one of the few times when somebody did something that was clearly like a beyond the pale, like safety violation. When I heard about it, I was like, oh, that was actually a really smart thing. I was like, I'm not going to bother writing you up because I would have done the same. I mean, the time was of the essence in that one for sure.
Yeah, I think that's also a good point though, Scott. I think the smartness of being a senior soup was recognizing that every breakdown has its own special situations and not always applying what an employee would do the same way. Because sometimes things that you would never want them to do were the right things to fucking do in that situation. And you got to pat them on the back for it, because that's the thing about breakdowns. They're never the same. It doesn't matter what ride it is. They're never the fucking same. And everything you have to think on your feet, man. I mean, and it's scary because a lot of those rides were being run by 16, 17-year-olds that weren't prepared to think the way they had to think. So, I think we lost Scott.
I think we lost Scott. But no, that's definitely true to his point. Like, very different scenarios, and sometimes you got to improvise. You got to go outside the manual, outside the rules.
Exactly.
The breakdown of water effects. I think in my first year, and I'm sitting here like, okay, I got to do this and that. I think it was a power failure or something. There were a ton of boats, and that was always the first place to go because people could hop out. And Jerry Jordan was actually up at the top first, and he just started. There were like 4 boats up there. They all made it up there, and the ladder wasn't even making it across. So he just started grabbing people. Big Jerry Jordan started grabbing people. So then I started grabbing people and just like helping them down. I was like, I'm following his lead, man. That was one of my favorite breakdown evacuations ever.
I love Jerry. I always got along with him. I love Jerry. Jerry was a good dude.
So some of the
Jerry was awesome.
The ones I remember, the breakdowns that I remember certainly is the one that at Chiller, after Chiller opened, and it was only open a couple weeks, and it saddled. It saddled in the spot where there was no stairs. There was no platform,
right.
There was no stairs, so we had to get ladders. And I remember Jerry Jordan. He was climbing up the ladder.
He was running over.
Oh my gosh, talking to the guests like he was in the middle of it. He was impressive.
He was impressive for real. Yep.
And that's one of my. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. While we're talking about 150 breakdowns, Taluki just posted, you can't talk about breakdowns without Batman and Robin. I never dealt with a Batman and Robin breakdown, so that's something I'm going to leave to you guys to talk about. I never dealt with a Batman and Robin breakdown, ever.
I've only dealt with Batman breakdowns, but I'm sure, Gloria, you were there for the saddle, I think, right?
I was there for the saddle. So it had been open. It was 97. It had been open for maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Robin went out. And then Robin just never went back in the station.
Robin went out. Joker killed Robin. Robin didn't come back.
Yeah, that Robin. He's always
well, because you remember, right? It shot out. So we were like, we're gonna come back. And then, as Gary said, Jerry Jordan was running, and I was like, oh, he's running. It's a problem, right? We get out, and there was people with heart conditions. There were people with all of these issues. So we're and we're children doing this. Like that's what Gary and I kept talking about as we were kids. And then we're, helping, 50 or 60-year-old people with heart conditions. So it was definitely one of those. And then it was closed for a couple of weeks, which is why I then ended up moving and working on something else. But
I just remember we had a stack of like free passes, and you were just handing them to the guests as they were coming down the ladder, just so they wouldn't start screaming. It's like, here, take it. Just take it. Here, come back.
Was it?
For your next
That's one of my favorite memories of, even though I wasn't even in rides at the time. I think I was in catering or games at the time. But my brother worked on it during that time. He was brand new to rides. That was the only ride he ever worked on. So basically didn't work on any rides. And he just goes, somebody said saddle. And then he spent the next 4 weeks standing out in front of the gate. That's all he did.
He did. That's funny.
It's so great. I know we only have a half hour left. Well, we got a lot of material. We got a lot of material here. You touched on some of it, Gloria, with the break rooms and East Side conveniences, which I thought there were a lot. And I know West Side definitely had their conveniences as well. And I give them a lot of credit for adding that second commute to their job every day. I mean,
hey,
that was a long haul.
Before Fitbit, come on, man.
That was a long haul. I mean, I felt like I could have used GPS to find my ride.
Yeah.
But
Andy just finished 100 miles today. Where do you think he trained for that? At the West Side. Come on.
Right.
I was gonna say if it came up, I was just like, damn, it started.
Dining to the lounge.
My first experience with that was when I started in grounds, and I worked on the West Side, and my ground shed was underneath the runaway
Cables.
train. We had a big right under near the mechanic shop there. And the first couple days that I would start, we'd walk all the way down, and the lead would go through like, okay, who's here, who's not here, and there was always 3 older women that handled the bathrooms.
Yep.
It was one of them was Fumiko, and 2
Yeah.
other women. And the lead would say, "Oh no, I saw them. They go right to their bathrooms. They would never come down to the shed.
Yep.
They would go right up to the front gate, or they'd go over to the west. It was the bathroom right near the game square area. Like those were their areas. Like they don't even bother walking all the way down. They went right to their bathrooms. But it was pretty neat.
That was your supervisor bathroom, or that was a different bathroom?
Oh, so you guys know, since you are on the West Side, the best bathroom to use as an employee using a guest bathroom was right underneath by the fish food, underneath Log Flume.
Right,
absolutely. Yeah, our lift 2 bathroom. That was our lift 2 bathroom.
Best
correct.
bathroom in the whole
as
park.
grounds, we were responsible for that, so we didn't tell anyone other than you guys obviously knew, and all the grounds people knew. That's where we went. It was always clean. It was the cleanest bathroom in the park because we knew we were using it and you guys were using it.
I mean, it's officially called the Western Shootout bathroom because it was the other side of Shootout. But yeah, right. For sure.
Yeah. Well, I know on the East Side, I would always, if I had the opportunity to use the operations bathroom, like in the admin building, like because we were right there. So if I had to do a number 2, I would head up that way.
Just one of those awesome conveniences, Scott.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I mean, so you're trying to brag about the employee area bathroom. I don't. Well, I find it to be a great brag. I don't really find it to be a great brag. Okay.
All right.
We didn't have the convenience of the West Side cables that we talked about. I mean, you really can't get any better than that as far as location. But it was nice. It was nice. I even recall going to my car sometimes. Like, I got something in the car. Boom, just go on over. Need a new battery. Go ahead over. It was wonderful.
I thought you were going to say you went to your car and took a number 2.
Right, you know, I had a truck people at one time.
Just to point out, Andy and I would also park next to the arena sometimes, so we too would just walk to our car. It wasn't all that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, I did love. I think they all had great back areas, west side and east side. But absolutely had such thinking about this and doing this, such fond memories of those walks to, well, do I want to start at free fall and go that way? Or do I want to loop around and go to the Batman backside or go over to enter by Rapids? I used to love doing that too, that little gate area where the reading bench is, I believe, on the east side reading bench, I believe. Very fond memories of that.
It was.
No, it was nice. We used to send people out for food to bring back to the Rapids for that.
Oh, yeah. Wawa runs all the time. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, before I forget, I got to say this because this cracked me up today. An hour before the podcast, I'm at Dunkin' Donuts down the street, and the guy behind me is in a full Six Flags outfit. And I'm like ready to go to work, name tag on and everything. And I turn around and I'm like, hey, where do you work? And he's like, no shit, Dippin' Dots. I go, what? And he goes, yeah, I just work at Dippin' Dots. And I'm like, are you fucking with me? Or are you being serious? He's like, no, really. I work at Dippin' Dots, and that's all I do. And I was like, it's insane. Like, kind of like you were talking about Fumiko, like in a bathroom. Like, that's this dude. This dude's like, I mean, we're talking a dude who's easily like 20 years old, and he's just like proud as fuck. Like, I just work Dippin' Dots. That's all I do. I go to Six Flags and I work my Dippin' Dots and I'm done. And I was just like, and it's funny because I would have thought he was fucking with me, except I do know they have Dippin' Dot stands. I saw him last week. So I'm like, holy shit, that's really funny, you know? So bizarre, man. Like it's cool though. There's just still people that just have pride in like, you know, not being a supervisor or anything. Dude, just like, I work Dippin' Dots.
I love like being a supervisor.
He's like Kenny's reincarnation. He's Kenny's replacement.
Nice. I mean, we're going to talk bathrooms, and we talked a little bit about you know all the new things on the east side. Come on, the best bathroom in the park for the guests and for us when we needed the Blue Parrot. I mean, the cool breeze of the Blue Parrot. You know, and May. I don't know if you guys remember May. May was always in the Blue Parrot.
I do remember.
She was so
She was
awesome.
fantastic. She
would come up to me, same joke almost every time, and she would get me to laugh because she had that deadpan. She was just like, Chris, I keep telling you, you got to get me a boat. I'm like, what are you talking about? You got to get me a boat because it's flooding in there. And she would crack up, and she was the friggin' best. So not only was the bathroom one of the first bathrooms that ever had like that sensor for the sinks and everything like that.
It was like the first one. Remember, we were all like so fancy.
Yes,
it's over a bathroom.
It's like
I remember
a
all of us
bathroom.
were talking about that, and it was a goddamn bathroom sensor. Like Jesus,
exactly. It was a bathroom.
We had special training in grounds for that bathroom. We had.
I sort of remember that.
It was.
I remember
a
that.
big deal.
Yeah, I do want to point out. I do got to point something out. You guys had things like we had the Great Arena. You guys had Showcase Theater, which was your equivalent, which was fantastic. Had Chinese acrobats. Had concerts. It's where I saw my first concert ever, the Hooters, at the Showcase Theater. Yeah. You guys had the fucking Fest House. When I was a kid, parents would do one of two things. They just drop you off at the park, and you could babysit your goddamn self because they trusted it. Or if they went in with you, they weren't hanging out with you. They were going over to the fucking fest area and getting hammered at the fest area because that's where the beer was. You guys had that. You guys had the simplest thing. You guys had, I just found these. You guys had Keyhole Photo. Keyhole Photo was your side of the fountain, man. When I was a kid and when I was an employee, you walked in, and just like you're saying, one of the first things you get greeted with was the big wheel. The other thing you got greeted with was some motherfucker with a camera that didn't give you an option and just snapped that photo and then handed you the card, said, Keyhole Photo, your photo's over there. Have a good day. If you pick it up anytime, all day. And then you got one of these little fucking things, which was pretty goddamn cool. And I found 4 of them, all different colors, for my family, which were basically little Viewmasters, which are pretty cool.
Yeah, before there were telemarketers, there were Keyhole Photos.
There were Keyhole Photos, exactly.
You
guys had Cinema 180, which had, I mean, I have to be honest, as an employee, I don't remember what the fuck was in there because I don't think I ever even went in there once I started working there. But as a kid, I remember walking in there and you just stood and watched the movie, but it was a roller coaster and made you feel like you were on the ride.
It's one of my first memories. Yeah, like I remember getting dizzy, going, I'm not even on a ride, but I'm dizzy.
Which was amazing. You guys had the dolphin show and the diver show.
Dude,
you guys had the diver show. Why the fuck are you focusing on the bathrooms, Chris? You did some good things. What are you doing?
All there. It's all there, man. You just, I
love May and the Blue Parrot, but goddamn.
If you want to wear a Western hat and tell us why the East Side's better, I'm fine with that. But we had it all down.
I'm just trying to help you out because we got 20 minutes left and you're focusing on the bathrooms. I feel like
I thought Blue Parrot was pretty special for me. I had many special times in there.
It was a happy place.
Bathrooms are important, man. You got to have your bathroom picked out. You got to know where you're going to go in case of an emergency. You know, you got to have all the plans.
Ask George Costanza if he has
on the
interest
Rapids
in it.
Inner Island. Everyone knows. Come on. We already discussed this.
No, but good point, though. The dive show, though, I'm still scared now thinking of that guy just climbing that ladder. That was friggin' ridiculous. I still can't believe that. Are they still doing the dive show?
I don't even think it's there.
I got a strong feeling the dolphin show is no longer
dolphin
there.
Show
The dive show, I figured maybe. Yeah.
The other thing we had was duck races.
We've talked about the duck races, though, and I agree. The duck race, that's why Rapids was so special. Rapids had some really cool stuff in it. And beyond the fact that Rapids and Freefall were your two rides on the eastern side where if you knew how to operate those rides and operate them in manual on a full day, you were a fucking operator. Like, you knew your fucking shit, man, you know? There weren't a lot of rides like that. Like, I mean, does anyone remember the goddamn console for Freefall? Holy motherfucker. Man. It looked like you were operating the goddamn space shuttle. It was insane, you know? And Rapids, if you're fucking on a full, literally, if you're on a full day and every goddamn boat is out there and you're a manual, man, you were a boss. You knew what the fuck you were doing, and not a lot of people could do that. So that was a really, really special thing. But it's like we all have that, though. We have to be honest. Like, I felt the exact same way about Runaway Train. Runaway Train on 3 trains, which they had to get rid of because people just could not do it. But we did. When me and Andy were fucking like 16-year-olds, we were fucking able to do it. We did it all the goddamn time. You had to ride the motherfucking train in to be able to unload fast enough to not jam the goddamn trains. Like, it was insane, you know? Coaster was the same way on full trains. Like, you know, we all have that. So I guess that's not really an East versus West thing there because, let's be honest, we're all going to have pride for being an operator. We are.
Free fall operator, though, was a badge of honor for sure.
It was a huge badge of honor, man.
And if you were a free fall trainer, even more so, you know?
I agree.
And it definitely was. And I know we probably have some out there, listening, I hope, you know, and still love for you guys. And like you said, there are a lot of simple pleasures. You know what I mean? I agree. The dive show, all that stuff was fantastic. I always thought of the fireworks being more of a 140 thing and an East Side thing, but I mean, the lake did span. You know what I mean? And fireworks could be seen everywhere. But I thought the fireworks. I would walk through 140 to the lake to watch the fireworks with many of the people on this call.
The fireworks became sort of a midline spot because the fireworks are on that back path, and you could try to take them. But Andy, I believe, where did the fireworks?
But they started in the Western.
So why did they move
that was
them
the best
out
part
of
the
the
night when they shut the table down and did fireworks right in front of the fort.
You guys liked them so much you had to try to steal them. Let's be honest.
Well, I just thought, all things good started moving east.
It doesn't have the fireworks.
I don't know. We took Gloria. Gloria came west. I don't know. I don't think I like
Gloria side. Gloria side. I can't argue with that.
She went west and then she quit.
Chose that.
Shut up, Gloria. No one's talking to you.
Nice. Now, and free fall too, like I have down here, like is one of our topics, just like those warm feelings you get from, your work there, and we all worked on the east side. I friggin' love, for some reason, just chilling in the operator's booth of free fall. You know what I mean? Like it had like the perfect height for that table that was in there where the console was sitting on. You get your work done, you bullshit with the operator, you get, it was just fantastic. I loved it there. And then also too, I don't know if any of you's ever dabbled with that little store that was next to cash control. I love that little store. That thing, I never went to backstage. I just, I remember I needed to get the little cracks cleaned out of Batman Q line, so I sent people there to get me forks and knives so I could use them to clean out the cigarette butts. I didn't go, you know what I mean? So between the vending machines that were in wardrobe and that little store that had bulk candy that I could buy by the pound,
I was gonna say, how do you not talk about the candy? That's what that store was known for. Oh, and also your fucking sneakers. If you're a supervisor, you bought your Rockports, and if you're a regular employee, you got your black sneakers, and you got it payroll deducted, so you didn't have to put the money out. So
exactly, man.
I did love the sundry shop. I did love that little store. I have to admit, I did. Also, when motherfuckers would come in unshaven, go buy a razor, go shave, or go home. You have your choice,
Same thing with the the wrong color sneakers. You know what I mean? Oh, no need. Just go on down to the shop. And then timesheets too. Back to locations and things like, a lot of us have, there's a problem with your timesheets. I don't even know how you dealt with that with the West. I guess you just kind of had to come up and deal with it, like at the end of the day or something. But I remember you would send in your timesheets and there'd be a problem and I had to go and grab them. Somebody didn't sign something. Somebody did something wrong. And that was a huge convenience being right there. I don't know how you dealt with it unless they were just always right.
I can tell you how we did it. They were always right because we had great employees and that was it. Me and Andy did great training. They were all fantastic, and they all knew what they were doing, and they never flushed a ride, and they never threw their fucking sneakers in the reservoir. Nobody tried to ride a fucking paddle boat in the reservoir over in Log Flume. I can tell you that right now, okay?
Well, clearly, you guys didn't know what you were doing.
Steve, I remember our time sheets being done before we even left, but when we were still out the section at the end of the night.
They were. That was a rule. Our time sheets were always done at the section, so by the time we had to go over to the employee area, our area to our desks, we didn't really have anything to do. You also have to remember, though, we had something you guys didn't have. 160 did, 140 definitely did not. The park would empty generally, for us, by an hour before the park because it's so far out. People started migrating back, so we got quieter in 120. We had more time to get things done. You get what I'm saying? We had a little bit of free time that you guys didn't really have because it got quieter in our area. We would start shutting one side out, and all of a sudden you had an abundance of employees who could start cleaning, doing timesheets, all that good shit. So that was definitely a bonus on our side.
No, we definitely didn't have any free time. That's for sure. And that was one of the things too, man. Being assistant to the assistant lead at 16, 17 years old, and being told you're going to release everybody. Nobody leaves until this fat guy. At the time, I wasn't fat. Until this guy says, you guys can go home. And wasn't somebody to be like, oh, I have the power, like Cartman or something like that. But it was interesting. It was definitely something that was interesting.
People looking at you like, all right, if this guy waits just 1 minute, I'm going to mutiny. And
exactly. Who's this kid?
You got some 20-something-year-old college kids, and they'll have to listen to a 16-year-old. They didn't want to hear that at all.
Yeah, no, it was definitely something for sure. But yeah, no, I mean, I want to hear other fond memories and any miscellaneous type of things. But definitely, I think Gary, you touched on it. Hicks, I'm sorry, I know your heart's in the West Side, but one of my fondest memories of the East was our early morning rides on Batman. I mean, it's a nice, it's going to be 95 that day, but it's not yet. And, you're a little groggy from the night before. Maybe you worked a double, maybe you partied. It didn't matter. You got on that ride and it was all good. You know what I mean? And that commercial brought back so many memories.
I will never say that. First of all, I love test rides with all my fellow supervisors when we were not supposed to do that. Okay, me and Andy on goddamn Daredevil Dive, like two little fat kids flying around in the air.
That was the best way to start the day.
Coaster, we one in the front, one in the back. There was just a lot of fun. But I'm not gonna lie, man. Scott nailed it on the head. One of my fondest memories is trying to kick someone's shoe off when they didn't expect it and getting it on Batman. All of a sudden, Chris would be like, what the fuck? And his shoe is gone,
So good, because there was no talk of it the first time. My shoe was just gone.
It's such an unexpected treat to see someone's face like, you motherfucker!
I was like, dude, in the air, And I was kind of a bit of a Boy Scout too, man. So I was like, dude.
That's why there was always that interesting section of, oh, they're my supervisor. They're so no, they're not.
No, just in front of you, Kenny. Just in front of you. But I remember one time I got Steve's shoe off. Like he was hanging by like his big toe, and he's like, "Stop!" He's like, "Don't do it. I'll punch you if you knock it off." He's like, "Don't do it."
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. Any other fond memories for you guys?
I mean,
for these,
so
working there, the Fest House was awesome. Oh.
No, I was just going to say the East Side had a version of the log flume. I mean, we didn't talk about the Riptide. That was awesome.
Riptide.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. That was by design.
I mean, go ahead and bring up Koala Canyon too. Why don't you, Gary? Yeah,
hey.
Selling it there, buddy.
I got a code brand.
Flumy would occasionally visit the Riptide.
I don't think I ever got wet on that ride. Like you just never got. Maybe you got wet when you were going into the station and you were splashing yourself on the with your hands. But other than that, there was no splash.
I know one of the
right.
mechanics.
There was not.
I know one of the mechanics did on the ride, and he was not, or one of the fiberglass guys, and he wasn't happy about it at all because he didn't get wet with water from the ride. He got cleaning out the flappers in the back of the boats. He had something land across his wrist that I can't. I can't mention what it was right now because I'm in the middle of the airport. But
it's so nasty. Oh my god.
Nice. Oh wait, what? Wait, I'm sorry. I think. All right. I got Steve. I'm sorry. I got one more surprise guest. I didn't know he was gonna make it. I didn't know he was gonna make it. He just wants to give a quick history and just. All right, give me a second. Let me just grab him.
Whoa, I'm excited. I don't even know who this is.
What do you want to know? If you want my history, just watch my fucking movies.
I just have one question. What happened to your stunt show? There's just a big empty arena there now, and there used to be a show. What happened? Did the Joker win? What the fuck, man?
Everything good must come to an end eventually. I don't even know why we're debating this. One side has Gotham. The other side takes dumps off the West Side platform. Why are we even talking about this? And no Gotham.
To the people that are only listening to this podcast and not seeing it live, Batman has made an appearance on Chris's screen. So.
I have one question. Have you ever taken a dump off the West Side cables in a pale moonlight?
No, but I have on the Rapids Inner Island and maybe once in the Batman shed. I'm just gonna say maybe once. I don't know.
Sorry, wrong Batman and Joker, but it's still a valid point.
Oh my god!
I mean, I don't remember anybody actually defecating on the Inner Island, though. I have to say that. But
I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I definitely saw a guest shit there. I saw it more than once. That was the one that sticks out only because we had an employee eating a fucking sandwich 1 foot away from it, and I was like, "This is the most bizarre thing I'm ever looking at in my life." But I have definitely seen guests just run over there, and the employees were just like, I don't know what to do here, so they just let them do it. Usually it was peeing, though, not pooping. Right. But I have to imagine someone probably popped the squat over there at some point, so.
Yep.
I don't know.
And I have to say, we talked about 140 as being the worst uniforms in the park, and I'll give you that one. That you can't defend that, but the 160, especially like the African uniforms that the Congo Rapids people wore, those were the best as an employee not because we got to wear baseball caps, but because they were so loose fitting as a guy on that ride. Like when a woman was working and she had to give the all clear signal and she had to like work the button on the all clear button.
Are we talking side boob? Are we talking you're all about the side boob?
Well, you can see right through their uniform, and you could see everything. It was a very special time for me, like when I was operating and I got to
So Scott, what you're saying is the
and then Scott would run off into the Inner Island.
I was just thinking it. Scott just proved other things happened on the Inner Island. He's proving it.
I did say a lot of other things happened on the Inner Island. I didn't
what
say
Scott does behind the waterfall stays behind the waterfall. That's what we're saying.
I mean, it might have just been me, but I still had a good time. So
I think it was just you, Scott.
Good Lord. Is this really how you want to end defending the East Side? This is really it? We're down to 5 minutes, and that's how you're going to end your defense?
No. I think I didn't think about that.
Well, I have one last thing to say to the West Side. Here's to all you sycophant Westerns that smile through your teeth at me. Please leave in peace. Leave. Go. The party's over. Get out. Thank you for having me. All right. Okay. Thank you,
I just got one question. Was that Neil under that cowl? That was Neil, wasn't it? That was Neil, right? I know that was Neil.
I don't know.
Batman
said he got Apple Plus in the Batmobile, and he heard us, and he just, he felt the need. I don't know. He got a little dark there towards the end, but, he had some valid points. A little dark, but he had some valid points.
I wanted to I wanted to print a picture of Neil's face with a Robin mask on it for the show, but
that would have been amazing if you had that up on the screen at the same time Batman was up. That would have been pretty goddamn cool. That would have been epic.
I was pressed for time though. I was at scout camp until late yesterday, so I didn't really have a lot of time to prepare. So
nice.
Surprised Batman couldn't have pulled that off. What the hell?
Maybe next
I think it's pretty obvious that the East is better. You saw the light and came East. I mean, you finished your career, or at least in rides, on the East Side. So you wanted to be where the cool people were. I mean, clearly.
No, I finished my career on the West Side. The actual Western shoot. Wait. Actually, the Western shootout bathroom that you love so much. There's an office behind it that became my office in my last year as a full-timer. That was my office. No.
Steve and I were forced East.
Yes, we were forced East, by the way, because they did the 120 project. We did not voluntarily come East. And then we voluntarily ran the fuck back over to the West.
You were in East for a few years, though.
I thought he looked pretty comfortable on that reading bench. I don't know. I don't know what all this is about.
At the end of the day, I love both sides. I really do. My heart will always be with the West only because I was a lead in the West. So most of my time was spent in the West where my formative years were. As far as a supervisor goes, I like them both. I mean, I equally loved my time being me and Andy running 120 by ourselves. I equally loved my time with me, Gary, and Scott running Adventure Rivers. I love both. I can't say either was better when I was a supervisor. When I was a supervisor, it was just, but that goes to the probably where we can all agree. And I think where we can shut this whole East versus West thing down, it just who you loved working with. I mean, that's really what it came down to, who you loved working with and the pride in the rides you worked on. You know? I mean, let's be quite honest. Like we're here joking around about like Flying Wave sucked in the beginning, but Laura did love the Flying Wave. That was her ride for like 7 fucking years, and she loved it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you loved where you worked, it's fine. Look, Chris was fucking rotor king, cleaning up puke forever before he got anywhere else, you know? So
absolutely.
I mean, at the end of the day,
7 in 1 shift.
Yeah, I mean, it's wherever you worked and loved is where I think your heart kind of lies, you know? So for some people, it's always going to be East. For some people, it's always going to be West. For some like us, it's probably going to be a little bit of both, depending on, when you talk. If I had to talk about before I was a supervisor, it was absolutely West. But that's because I didn't fucking work the East. When I was a black tag, I was a grounds person in the East. Who the fuck? I didn't want that when I was 15, So, Any last words, guys? We're about to wrap up.
No, I think you said it best, man. I love both sides. Obviously, my heart is in the East, but love the whole park. And, like I said, loved who we worked with. And that was a huge part of it.
That's right. Buccaneer forever, baby.
Nice.
All right, folks. Well, time flies when you're having fun. Unfortunately, it's our time to wrap up. So thanks again to our special guests, Kenny Gravitsky, Congo Rapids icon, Gary, Gloria, our super special guest. Great pull in at the end that we did not expect. That was pretty cool. To all the folks listening and watching us record live, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We appreciate the comments you guys post. We appreciate one of the things we definitely love. We loved hearing the feedback. I know a lot of people send me stuff through the Facebook page. We don't have a website. We do have a Facebook page. We absolutely love the feedback, and we love the weird ideas. A lot of people send ideas for different topics. Keep those coming, because there's some stuff out there that just boggles my mind, man. Like, we all know that originally they bust people in, and then they stopped busing people in and decide to create an on-site trailer park and bring in people from other countries. There's a rumor out there that 1 or 2 seasons, those people had a prostitution ring being run by the mafia on site. What the fuck? Like, that kind of stuff, when I hear that, I'm like, I don't even care if it's true. It's hysterical. Throw that shit our way. We want to talk about it.
Urban legends are great.
Yes.
Too.
Oh, my God, man. It's like Weird New Jersey at Six Flags. That's fantastic, So keep that stuff coming. We do post pics usually on the Facebook page right after the podcast, usually pertaining to whatever topics we talk about. I will note that we never actually tag anybody on the pics. If you guys, but it's open to tagging. So if you see your pick up there and you want to tag yourself, absolutely. I think it gives some people kicks seeing themselves like 30 years ago, as little ride operators and shit. I think it's kind of cool. All right. And with that, signing off for now, I'm Steve Hicks. My co-hosts today were
Scott Loudon. I remembered.
Chris Peluso.
And I'm Andy Auletti.
And our special co-hosts are
Ken Kravitsky
and
Gary
And Gloria.
Thank you, guys. All right, everybody. Until next time, as always, make it a great day. Bye, folks.
Make it a great day. Thank you.